Podcast with Chris Taylor.
Welcome to the podcast, and on today's edition, we've got a good friend of mine. We've got Nicky Waters from Call of The Kraken. How you doing, buddy? You all right?
Hey, man. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
How is it in these crazy times?
Crazy. Just want to be gigging, dude. Just want to be gigging.
Yeah, well, we've got, this is obviously coming out after Boris's latest sort of roadmap thing. It looks like we've got a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel now. So we could maybe have a summer of being able to get back out doing what we do.
How do you feel about it?
I feel that, again, we're putting a lot of faith in the British public, and I think this has been seen with firsthand last year that you give an inch and they take 3 yards with them. You know what I mean? And it's almost like he's gone. It's almost like going, this is what you can have if you're good. If you're nice people, you can have your pubs back open. I do laugh at the, you can open the pubs in April, but you can't let anybody inside them.
Yeah,
that's funny. But
the British public are just not to be trusted. That's especially like when you're at a gig and you're playing, you look at these people, you think, nah, they're not to be trusted. These folk. Definitely not.
But it's nice to know that they are actually thinking about it now. When they did mention live music for the first time, they mentioned performances and things like that, which they've not done for the last 6 months because they know it was never going to happen. It's a super spreader event, in it really. Let's be honest, we all like to be in a rammed crowd. We play gigs, we go to gigs, we want to be in a gig rammed in like sardines, sweating, having a great time, don't we? But that doesn't really work with coronavirus. No.
And I think the good thing about it is it's just giving people that bit of hope. It's just giving them that little bit of hope where they can cling to and think, oh, it might, the light at the end of the tunnel might be closer than we think. And that's, obviously all the things have got to line up for it to go ahead. And obviously the music industry has just been like decimated. It's just been destroyed. And that's not just like bands. It's, all of the crews, the venues, everything. It's a really shitty time. So, I think just having that bit of hope goes a long way. Anyways, I've obviously got a lot of steps to happen to get there, but I'm hopeful. I'm excited. The thought of gigging again exciting me. So
it's been a long time, man. It was like March last year. Nearly a year ago. Do
you remember your last gig you played?
Yeah, it was really, really weird, actually. It was the week before full lockdown, and there was already talk about maybe, the information was coming out that this was what might have to happen. And we played a gig, which is usually really, really rammed in Telford, and we got there and there was 9 people in there. So literally it was already hitting. People were starting to go, I'm not going out. And it was the place that booked us were like, it's not your fault. It's literally... We've had this all
chestnuts.
Yeah, so we've literally had this all weekend. No, but people, as soon as they started talking about there may be a lockdown and the virus is getting particularly bad, literally everyone stopped going out. People were already. Yeah. I mean, we had 3 gigs booked that weekend when Boris locked down. In fact, my singer was on the way over to pick me up to go to a gig when Boris announced the pubs are closing tonight.
Yeah.
And literally, we had 3 that week. We actually rang the venue we were playing at to say, look, how's it looking? Because we don't want to drive all the way there to find that you've got no customers and because they're all staying in or what. And we could have gone and turned up and took the money for the sake of it, but we thought we'd ring them first and say, well, how do you feel? They just said you've got to close up tonight. It's basically saying to them, you need to make money. You've got beer that's been delivered. You need to sell. So why don't you hold, don't worry about the expenditure of having a band as well. Just get your regulars in because you've got to make the money before you can close, sort of thing. So yeah, it was the week before the actual lockdown, the last gig. That was the last one. I didn't play again. I know a few people played in the summer when mainly solo entertainers and stuff. I saw them getting gigs in the summer when they opened the pubs, outdoor gigs. I saw a lot of things where people were doing gigs that they shouldn't have been doing as well. I saw a few people that may have been, let's say, flouncing the rules a little bit.
Flouncing, definitely.
It's just quite a bit, and they're like posting their picture on Facebook from their gig. And you look at it going like,
why bother? Because I remember the last gig we did. we were playing. I think we were playing the Ludlow Brewery just before. It was 2 weeks before lockdown. That weekend when it locked down, and then after that, so we had that last weekend where we did a couple of gigs, and then as the weekend come up where things were starting to get locked down, the weekend before that in the middle, I got COVID. So I was like, guys, I've got all the symptoms, and we're supposed to be playing in like a wedding, 2 weddings that weekend, and I was like, I don't think we should do this. I'm like coughing on the phone, like I can't breathe. And I'd isolated myself in the top room of my house. And I've got asthma, so it was like I was scared, man. I couldn't breathe. And they weren't doing testing then, so I was on the phone to like 111 for about 6 hours to trying to get through. Like everyone was doing. And he was like, yeah, just isolate. Sounds like you got all the symptoms. Please just isolate. And scary, man. But we were supposed to do a gig that weekend. I was like, maybe it's just a cough. I'll be all right on the kit. And no, don't be stupid. So the last gig was just a weekend before that.
I say, if you can't breathe, you're gonna have a real job drumming, aren't you? You know.
I've played gigs with worse, like, you know, symptoms and things before. You know, like I played a gig once. I was filling in for my dad's band up north about 10, 12 years ago, and I got heat stroke, really bad heat stroke and sunstroke one day. I've never felt so bad playing a gig. You know what it's like when you get something.
I'm well versed in the stroke of the sun.
You know what it's like, and yeah, man. The last thing you want is noise, and hitting that snare drum. Oh man, the worst.
Talking about filling in for your dad's band. Let's go back to the start then. So when did you start drumming, and why? Because you come from a musical family, obviously, but people might not know that. You know, who are listening to this. So take us back to the beginning. When did you get the drumming bug?
The drumming bug. I'm come from, like, my dad's a drummer, and he still plays in a band, King Size Voodoo Travelers, and he does a lot of session work. You know, like highly sought after name in the Northeast. So he's a bit of a pro. He was actually in a band in the 70s called White Heat, who were like signed up to Virgin, and they supported Priests back in the day. Yeah, I know. Yeah, man. So cool. So, and then his dad, my granddad, was a drummer as well. A band called the Fender Men back in the day. So music's always been in my family. Drums, noisy instruments have always been in my family. So he got me like a kit when I was probably about 5, like a tiny little kit. And he'd showed me some basics, but I wasn't interested. So when I got to about maybe 13, I started playing guitar. I was like, I want to play guitar. I've seen all the hassle that drums can cause in life, and I don't want that. I'll play guitar. And then I lasted about 6 months on that, and got straight into drums when I was about 14.
Yeah.
Just gigged pretty much solidly since I was about 14, 15. Obviously from the Northeast, so gigged a lot up there. Did my first ever gig in the Cooperage in Newcastle, which is like this big iconic venue. It's gone now, but just gigged loads of small bands. Got into had my first big break when I was in a band called the Tuckers up in the Northeast. They'd done some good stuff, had a big single out, and I joined them. My best mate. I always get into bands by knowing people and having good connections.
Networking, yeah.
So important. So I got to this band, the Tuckers, and you know, the keyboard player was my best friend, and we went away and toured like Holland and all sorts of shit. So it was really good. It was really good. And I was studying music at college at the time, and they were giving me wrong. I was studying performance arts, drums, performance production.
Yeah.
And they were telling me off for booking time off to go on a tour. I was like, that's just crazy. Like, that's what we're here to learn.
Yeah.
So, and then, just gigged a bunch of bands up there. Got into a band called Black Sedan Band, which was my tutor from college, and did a bunch of stuff there. Then moved down to sunny Shropshire. Met you.
Yeah.
famous Chris Taylor.
Yeah, it was more. That was funny actually, because it was our first gig. We'd never met, had we? I think I.
No. Did we do one practice or not?
No, it was before that, because I answered a call for there was a thing for a Deppin gig that was already booked, and literally I just turned up and we just played that night, didn't we? We was like, hey, right, we're on in 10 minutes, okay, you know.
was the first? What was our first gig together?
The first one was at that place just towards mid Wales, outdoors in the back of a pub car park. The pub was closing apparently, and the band was booked, and the guitar player had left, and I answered a internet thing up on Bandmix or something, looking for a guitar player, and I just applied for it. I had an email back, and it was like, well, here's the set list, like the day before. Can you turn up and do this gig? Because we don't want to cancel it. And I literally just turned up there and met you. Your drum kit was already set up. Like, dragged the amp in. It was like within about 20 minutes we were playing, and it was like, okay. And then after that, it was probably 3 or 4 months later when I had the offer to join the band. We had about 2 practices, and then we were doing a biker rally, which was 8 years ago today. Yeah, the biker rally. Yeah.
Happy Frozen Balls Day.
I know, yeah. Came up on my memories. I was like, that's really weird. I'm talking to Nicky today, and this is literally 8 years ago today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, you did the Deppin gig first. Yeah.
Just randomly turned up and just was like, okay, let's play loads of AC/DC and Metallica and stuff. Yeah.
Because at that time, I'd had the transition from going to the Northeast, where I was gigging all the time. The bands were starting to do a little bit less, and like yourself, I just want to be active. I want to be gigging all the time. So my attention was starting to wane a bit. And when I moved down to Shropshire, I found it really hard coming from like a real networking place, and I found it really hard to integrate down in Shropshire. And I didn't play for about a year. I just in my house, I just couldn't. I was putting adverts out and everything. It was only when I moved to Bishop's Castle and I got up to do open mic night. Mm-hmm. I got up to do an open mic night, but before I got up and did a bit with our old band, I did a bit with Conrad and Paul, Conrad's dad. Mm. And so I'd met Conrad. This was probably about, like you say, about 8 years before Kraken got together. Seven years before Kraken got together. So we met there, exchanged details and stuff like that, like as you do. And then, I got up and did a number with the BCDC guys, and they were like, "Oh, we're gigging tomorrow. Do you want to be in?" And I was like, "Yeah." I hadn't gigged in a year. I was desperate to get out, and then that's how things come on to meet you. And yeah, man. So and then.
Well, the thing is that area of the world there. I mean, Bishop's Castle. It's a great little hotbed for music. It's great, those open mic nights. You can just turn up. A regular punter could be there and just see some fantastic musicianship going on.
Yeah, the vaults is great for that. Mandy and Wayne do a great job. I've never been to an open mic night until then which had full gear. So you always have an open mic night usually where it's like, especially in the Northeast, where it was more designed for singers and guitar players, acoustically. It's quite rare that you get an open mic night with a full bed of gear where you could just bring your sticks and stuff. And that's how I met so many people at that one, met all the Fight the Bear guys and everyone like that.
They were great. They were really, really good. And like I say, for anybody who just once things are open again, that just want to go and see stuff that they just wouldn't see. You never know who's going to be there on that night. It attracts some really great players, and it's. I used to do open mic nights before. Me and some buddies used to host one in a different pub in Highley, but we used to supply the back line. And then you're right, it actually made great nights because you get people up. And there was already my drum kit was already set up there and the bass amp. So it was like, just if you want to bring your own guitars and plug in, but it needs to be great. And open mic's kind of a funny thing to me. It's either they're good, like the ones at the Vaults and that, or they're just, we'd like to put an open mic on because we don't want to pay for entertainment tonight, and we think it would be great if, you could come and do us a free turn. That'd be brilliant. You know what I mean?
Bingo. Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think I've got to give a huge shout out to David Gregg at the Albert Sheds, both the Albert Sheds, so the one in Shrewsbury where I live now. They're really sort of changing how music venues can be. And he does such a good job. The open mic nights at the Albert Sheds, so good. So when me and Conrad went to one of the first ones there, and we just rocked up. He told us that we're going to start, they start at 8, but they don't really get going until midnight. and then they used to finish at 4 a.m.
Right.
And I was like, no way, come on now, you're having this on. So we got there at 8, and we played for hours, and they were at about midnight, it started kicking off, going great. So I'm not sure about the licensing now, but they used to have it so good where, you're just waiting for those moments of magic with people. And we used to get all sorts of people come up, people who were doing get some rappers coming up, people who just, sax players, keys, rock guys. It's a really good mix. So huge shout out to the Albert Shed guys, because they are really pushing forwards. Albert Shed and the Vaults pushing forward the music scene in Shropshire. So it's
I think they really are, and I was happy to see that Albert Shed, they came good with the grants from the government. I saw a thing which is great, because there needs to be venues like that. There needs to be, because people need to learn the craft of playing live. It's part of it, and it'll also kickstart a lot of people's careers or interest in doing it themselves, and that's what we all want. We want more people to play music. We want different things to go and see, and things that.
They're becoming like a dying breed, musicians. The way music's going.
It's because everyone's creating everything in the box, man. I mean, you can get virtual versions of me and you, mate, if you want to make a song. It's not a problem.
Better versions.
Never gets the feel, does it? The feel's never there. You know what I mean? That's the thing. But they say, there's a lot of people, famous people, going on different podcasts and literally just they're referring to it as what they say, celebrity with a laptop.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a huge difference I noticed when I moved down from the northeast. So I moved down to Shropshire about 11 years ago, which is quite scary. That's a third of my life down here. And up in the northeast, you get mainly, you get a bit down here, but mainly you get a lot of working men's clubs, and you get a few down here, but it's a lot up there. We used to gig a lot of working men's clubs in big clubby type places like that. And I remember doing a Depp gig. So my dad's band at the time, he was in a band called the Poor Boys, and they're a great band, southern rock, bluesy type thing. He had an eye operation, my dad, and he was like, "Can you fill in for me for the summer?" Because something had detached at the back of his eyeball. I don't think they ever fixed it. He's still half blind. I hope he watches this and sees that.
I'm sure he will, because he's a legend. He's ace.
I don't like being in the car when you're driving. And so he had his eye operation, and I filled in, and it was great, But we went to do I loved the fact that I went to rehearse for it. They used to go and do 3-hour gigs each time, and it's same thing again. I think you were telling me before about it with you get the book, just a book of songs to learn. Yeah, Christ! And I did an acoustic rehearsal at the keyboard player's house. We did half an hour rehearsal to do 5 hours worth of material. He's like, "Yeah, you'll be fine," and then you just get chucked into it. And it was a great summer. It was one of my fondest summers of gigging, because you're just thrown into this.
It is, but some of the best things can come out by flying by the seat of your pants. I mean, I am one like that, in terms of, if I've got a load of stuff to learn, I will pretty much get it all down, but leave enough room for my own interpretation. But nothing that's going to take away from the song structure. But I'm not going to, for example, I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, there's all these, I'll learn all the songs. I'm not going to be out there playing the solos note for note. I know what the key is, unless it's iconic. There's certain songs that you have to play them the same. Otherwise, there'll be the idiot in the crowd that goes, "You've played that wrong." It's like,
yeah.
You've messed that up. It's I like it to be a bit, bit looser and to have a bit freer, because it's, that sometimes that's where your magic bits come from, especially live. It's to me.
I've played with bands in the past where I've played with a band in the past where we rehearsed for a year. We rehearsed for a solid year before we did one gig, and that was alien to me. I've always just been thrown into it, but it was a good process, because everything had to be done note for note, so it was a really good process to do. But it's not my cup of tea. I like a bit of rehearsal, and I like, but I like the moments which happen on stage, and then you kind of look, you look at with Call of the Kraken, I mean, like we'll do something, and like me and Bruce will look at each other, or me and Conrad will look at each other and be like, "That's a cool little part. Let's enhance that every gig and see where it can take it." You'll remember that little bit and be like, I like those moments. Those moments are cool.
Me too.
Very
I also used to really look forward to the jazz section in the middle of Enter Sandman as well. That was a good moment, wasn't it?
I forgot about that. Why did I do that?
It just sounded right, didn't it?
No. I'd forgotten about that.
So yeah, well, just as we're back in the day a bit now. So obviously, after the sort of weekend warrior thing that we used to do, things got a little bit bigger for you, didn't they? You played a few bigger places, didn't you?
And that is all thanks to you, man. That is obviously me and Chris, me and you, we gigged a lot, and we had a great time gigging. It was always fun gigging with you, man. It was always a laugh. We always did have a good time with all our jazz sections. And just like all the punters in like Bill Swell's like.
It's got to be fun now, isn't it? It's like, it's like you can't just stand there and play either, man. You got to jump off things and just have a laugh at you and things like that. And I think your hair caught in a. How was that? The Haygate when I jumped off the kit or the amp or something, and literally they had that fan up there.
You got your hair caught, didn't you?
What? Yeah.
So you're walking around trying to play like this.
Yeah.
Mate. But I think we did it for those reactions of people being like, "What the hell, man?" But like knowing, so we did all the gigging and stuff, and that sort of came to a natural end. The VCDC days. You were working at Headstock at the time, and you were, doing some amazing things there. And you messaged me one day, and you said, "There's an audition. I'm putting you forward for." Like, you didn't even say go for it. You're like, "I'm putting you forward for the audition that I know about."
Yeah.
Buying
I thought it'd be a great fit for you.
Amazing, and it was. And he was like, "You just give me a little heads up, and like, we've got some good things coming up. Just trust me on this one." So I, bundled the kit in the car and drove over to Doodloy, and I was and I went to that audition with EV, and what a whirlwind of a couple of years that was. Absolute whirlwind. Joined EV. Quickly, I did the audition, and I think like you've probably done a fair few auditions before in your past, and if I ever do an audition, I want to make sure I'm learning the songs better than the people who wrote them. So they're ingrained, and like my audition process is, if I will, before I even pick up a stick, I'll just have the track on repeat for like a good week until you could play it in your sleep. You know that where it's coming up, and then you start applying it to the kit and working through the sections, whatever. So I went to the audition. That went really well. Great bunch of guys. At the time, I was 25, and the singer was 17. He just turned 17. So I was like, these guys were so young, and I just remember you saying, "Trust me on this one." And then I did it. It was fun. It was exciting. And then they all had a little chat, and they're like, "Yep, we want you in the band." I was like, "Amazing." We are doing a tour with McBusted starting in April. And I was like, McBusted? He's like, "It's an arena tour, and it's going to 32 dates, 7 weeks across the UK island." It's So, and I was like, oh shit. Okay.
I knew about it.
You knew about it. You didn't tell me, like, just trust me on this one. And I was like, fuck. So, I went and did, we did a little mini tour before that happened. And it was like, I've come from the world like you have, Chris, where you gig the most horrible little places and the nice places, but you just gig. You gig anywhere and you just do it, like sleep in vans, whatever it takes just to be out playing, because it's what you love to do. And all of a sudden there was like stylists involved, and and all these like these bigger things that you could only sort of dream about were starting to happen, like big music video productions. And I was like, wow, this is just another world. So we did a little mini tour in Scotland before that, and like that was like a fun tour, and I thought it was great. But 2 people at every gig. It was just to try and get everything moving together properly.
It's kind of like production rehearsals in front of whoever turns up. Yeah,
exactly. And whilst we're doing that, we also did pre-production at this rugby club, which they used to hire out, and it was so you had the full lot. But again, it was the first time having a drum tech, and I was like, wow, I've never had a drum tech before. I'd have a member of the band pass me something that had fallen off the kit, and you'd laugh about it, but I had a drum tech, little Johnny Watt, great guy. He plays in a band, used to play in a band called Octoberfile, and they're like big metal guys doing all the big metal festivals. So he was my drum tech, and he was from Sunderland, so we had like scumbag, but we had
he's a Mackham.
And then we had a guitar tech, which is Scott Finley, and Scott Finley is just ace. What an ace, dude! I think you got the hookup for Scott because you'd helped them out with some
previous bands, like Heaven's Basement and bands like that, and
exactly. And then we had all this crew. Tim Spatz did the video. Tim's one of my like absolute best mates still to this day. He's just a super guy. So we had like tour managers, the manager, and we were signing contracts. So it was really exciting. It was a very exciting time. Just before McBusted tour happened, another like I remember my granddad died. And it was like the funeral was the day before the tour took off. And I from down in Shropshire to up in Newcastle is a hefty old drive. So 5 hours up there. And I just had no sleep for like 3 days. Got on the tour bus, and I was like, right, this one's for you, man. This one's going to be for you. So it was a special tour. We got and we had a tour bus, and I was like, this is, like all of the rest of the guys, they were buzzing for it, but they were so young that I felt like I had all these dreams in my head of what I wanted it to be. And I was finally sitting on the tour bus, and we were going to Glasgow. Was our first gig. It was quite funny because we were all like hyped up, ready to go on for 10,000 people, and the first gig gets cancelled because of the production was a huge production that McBusted put on, and it got cancelled because all the production just went behind. There was a delay, so they cut us. There was 3 support bands, and we got cut. So we were standing there side stage, earpieces in. First time I was playing live to a click. Always practiced to clicks and metronomes, but first time I was playing live with the laptops and everything. And it got cut. And I was like, oh man, everyone was so gutted. But that was the first of like 4 dates at Glasgow. So then we, next gig, and the McBusted guys like give us like a gift basket and said sorry that everything happened. And we went on the next night, and it was like we were just ready to tear the place off. And we did 7 weeks of just madness, just mad touring. It was just crazy. Like, what a crazy experience that was. We only had a short slot that we play in, and it was very strict. You used to press the laptop, and there would be backing tracks on that for some sound effects. You used to press play, and then you'd had to be on. If you were a second over, they just pull you off. So it's very precise, and but it was fun. It was that strict, that strict atmosphere that made you had to forget about that and just try and perform and sell yourself. And I remember on that tour, the single that they wrote before I joined called Lust, I'm in the music video for it, and it's like makes me cringe every time I watch it because I'm just in this music video. You've got to see it. It's just awful. It's terrible. And we did that music video. It was in like these tunnels called the Drakelow Tunnels. I think they're near Kidderminster, actually. Mm. And they used to shoot like pornos and all sorts of craziness in there. It was like the weirdest haunted tunnels ever. And the single got to number 7 in like the iTunes charts, and I was like, this is like, my dreams are like coming true. did the tour, super hyped up. We just kept pushing. It was very pop orientated. And I've always been like a rocker, always been a rocker at heart. So we started writing songs and, you know, they would come out rocky. We did that. And then as that tour was finishing, last gig we did was in Dublin, nearly missed the ferry. So close. Yeah, we nearly got everyone to miss the ferry. Just it's another story for another time. Yeah. And then as we were getting back, we got a tour booked in with the Vamps, which again, at the time I wasn't familiar with, but they were emerging on the pop scene. They'd supported McFly in the past. So, and we got the tour with them. In the summer, we just gigged at like loads of places, loads of different sort of bits and bobs, and pushing. Got the tour with the Vamps in November, which was a shorter tour. I think it was a 2-3 week tour of the theatres and whatnot. So we gone from playing like 20,000 capacities, and then we kind of worked backwards in the band.
You played the O2 Arena twice, didn't you?
Played the O2 Arena twice, yeah. And
I do you remember me coming to meet you at the, I'm going to call it the NEC, because people that listen will know what the NEC is. I know it changes its name to the LG Arena and something else now.
The Genting and all that, wasn't it? It was the LG at the time, I think.
Yeah, because I came there to shoot some footage, didn't I, of the gear with Latham, yeah. And basically spent the day with you and watched the show and all that. And I think I left about 10 o'clock or something at night. But
yeah, man.
But we had a really good day, and the memory that I'm going to take from that, which was just being, well, apart from you guys, which I thought I was really proud. I remember just watching you out there on the big stage and just being like proper proud and being,
right.
Yeah,
that's I could see you. I could see you doing it.
Yeah. But the other bit was getting dragged into the big money ticket pit at the front, you know, which was like the big people think whatever, and me and Latham in there. You've got to go down there for the start of the McBusted show. You've got to go down there. It'll be, you just trust me. You don't have to stay in there, but just you need to see the intro, the start of it. And we're like, oh, okay, whatever. So there's these two blokes like stood in a circle with probably 100 teenage girls in there, and there's just me and Latham in leather jackets and jeans and stuff, looking a bit weird, you know. Watching the DeLorean bit, which was awesome, which was great. But as soon as they started playing the first song, like, and all these girls are going mental, and there's me and Latham just going, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here. So we got out of there like.
That lanyard was like your safe ticket. Like, I'm not a weirdo. I'm working. I promise you.
Pretty much, yeah. Because we must have looked so strange. Just these two blokes that didn't know any of the words, just going right in the middle of the ultra uber fan bit. You know, it's like
that one night. That DeLorean part. One night it didn't open, and it was like Spinal Tap. They both got stuck in the car for like a whole song.
What, and all the music carried on. How weird is that?
Yeah, I know. Magical.
Magic.
They're such good players.
Yeah.
They got stuck in it. It was like, oh my God. That Spinal Tap moment, man. It was great.
Well, my fiance, actually, after I met her, she was at one of those, she was at the same gig as a fan because she loved McBusted and all that. And when I met her, like, this was obviously after the tour had finished, it was like I was talking about you and that. She goes, I think I saw that band when I watched McFly. I'm like, no way. I was in the same arena. I was that weird-looking guy in the pit with all the 14-year-old girls just going, shouldn't be here.
It's so weird. Like, I meet so many people nowadays who are like, I was at one of them shows. I was like, I would have seen. I was like, yeah, we were one of the support bands. Like, oh, was that one of them shows? But yeah, so it's.
But I think with the model of those kind of gigs as well, though, a lot of people go into that. Let's just say it. And it's going to sound, how do I explain this? But the people that buy a ticket to see that headline act probably don't care about who the support bands are because they're not even watching them. They're just doing what they do. And let's just say they're not there for the fans of the musicality going on. They're just there to scream and shout. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That, but
you are kind of lost in the mist a bit there. And that is, I think, the underdog battle I quite like about being a support band because you've got to. Sorry if that was really loud there. It's the underdog battle of, you know, that trying to promote yourself and I quite like that. You know, they're comfortable. They're at the top. Nobody wants to be there. They're comfortable at the top, and you know, you're like there. You're trying to. This is what we do, and I quite like that. You're trying to prove something. You're trying to prove.
And like I'm saying, what a tour to do it on. Like straight away, you join the band. It's like, right, you're playing arenas. Okay.
Man. So with that band,
I couldn't wait for you to find out because I kept that bit quiet. It was great.
Yeah, no. You're just like, there's some good things going to happen with this band. I've got a feeling.
You should do this. Yeah, this would be good for you. Yeah.
What a crazy time.
I remember as well when you do more of your own material with that band that it was getting more rocky. You know,
yeah.
And I think that after I saw you get on really well with the Vamps tour, and you know that was a fun tour, wasn't it? But I remember you going on tour with Glamour of the Kill as well after that, and starting to tour with a bit more of the heavier, commercially heavy bands, you know.
Well, that was the funny part of it. We started like the opposite way around. So we did arenas, and then we did the theatres and the Apollos with the Vamps. And one gig on the Vamps tour was like, so, you know, everyone's got that venue they want to play. Everyone's got their personal favourite venue. Mine has always been Manchester Apollo, mainly because, you know, I'd say mainly because it's where like I used to sit and watch Deftones, my favorite band. Shock. I used to sit and watch them in Manchester Apollo and just think, what a great venue. And it was like that stage was like everyone's got that stage they just want to be on. And so when I was there, I was like, it was a special moment for me, really special. But then, so from going from the Vamps, we then did the headline tour, and that was good. We had some good successful shows from that, some not so successful shows from that, which is, you know, how it works. And then, like you say, we were recording all the time, and then emerging more as a rock band. So, and we trying to make out if it was counterproductive to do the pop stuff, but it was kind of like cemented a fan base, which actually a lot of the fans that we created from the McBusted show would come on the Glamour of the Kill show. So, like you say, after the headline show, start of 2015, Glamour of the Kill, we've been recording with Johnny Rocker, who used to be in Heaven's Basement, David Radad Jones, in Manchester, Red City Recordings, great studio. We've been recording there, and he had the hookups because he'd been recording the Glamour of the Kill stuff. So from going from like the Vamps to the Glamour, I loved it. So we'd gone from like huge tour bus, in a van, in cars, or in a splitter, and then we had 3 bands on one tour bus. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. It was great. And Mark Latham was on it for the first week, and then he went off to shoot the Skindred shows. But they're all got endorsements from Jägermeister, so you can used to open. Is that a drawer? And you open it, just full of Jaeger everywhere. It was just, and they're known for being big drinkers. So, as like the underdog pop band, we sort of just had to like prove ourselves that like we could have a beer. We could, or at least try.
How did that work out for you?
It was great. Like, you know, I love a drink. You know, I do like a beer now and then. Shock to most people who know me.
Me too.
There was one night I had a day off and we were in Salisbury, and we knew a couple of guys who were also in a support band from the McBusted tour, lived down there, so we hooked up with them and just got on it. And I'd the whole day was a blur, and I just remember waking up on the bus in like a pile of my own sick. Like I was like, oh no, and I'd nearly like done the classic like, the Bonham, Bon Scots, just like I was like, oh no, I was like, Reese, I've been sick. He's like, oh no. and then that moment when you're so hungover and the bus arrives at the next venue and you're like, the hangovers where you're dying, you want the ground to open you up and just swallow you. It's like, okay, load in. You're like, oh no, just do the load in and have a nap. Yeah. So it was a lot of that kind of goings on, but it was great. So we did obviously the Glamour tour, and then after that we got on to do some stuff that some of my big dreams. We went and did Download Festival and things like that, which was just a special moment again, just a super special moment. Just felt very lucky that I got to that place in my career where I was playing Download. It was a dream come true. So, yeah, man, it was good. It was a shame when the band ended later that year. It could have gone on to do some really good stuff, but it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't it.
There's a lot of stars that need to be aligned for bands to take off and have a long-term career in this. I mean, you've seen that yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's luck, a lot of it's money, a lot of it's promotional team, and a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time with the right product, But what a ride it was, what experience you got from it,
What a great time, and met some my best friends in the world from those tours, and you just you look back with fond memories, and I think that it did give me a really good but dark insight to the music world, especially the pop world. The pop world is a dark place. Everyone's like rock world, the rock world CD. No, the rock world's great. The rock and metal scene are great because everyone's friends, you're in a bit of a brotherhood there. Everyone looks after you. You get on well with the band, they'll take you on tour, blah, blah, blah. Pop world it's like corrupt politics. It's terrible. There's some dark things we all saw on that tour that it makes you realize sometimes it's just not about, for me, it's about me and my drums, and that gets you to a certain place, but it's not about that when you get there. It's like you say, it's about money, and if you look right, and all these kind of crazy things, which just detracts. I mean, everyone knows it's like the pop world. You've got to look like a certain type of thing.
Well, there is some of their eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, I just felt, at the time I was doing that, I was like the heaviest I've ever been. I was ballooned up, man, and I just didn't. I think I felt I was there because I could play. I could hit the drums hard, and I could be a solid player, solid, reliable player. But I was like, we're doing all these photo shoots and doing all these video shoots, and I'm a self-conscious guy as it is, and I was just out of my depth in a lot of that. I was rolling with it. I roll with the experiences like always, but I was just like, I felt so uncomfortable. It's so based on what you look like, and I'm there like this fake dude, and I just it didn't.
And you get your itinerary through, and it's like, okay, you got dance lessons at 3. You're like,
you joke.
Oh.
There was, not so much dance lessons, but there was, other things of such nature, which
it's a product now, isn't it? It's a product. Yeah. It's so far away from the days in the past of like the Zeppelins of that just get together and have their stagecraft, have their songs, and it naturally. It naturally melds into something that's bigger. It's the pop world's completely different. It's like we need a box that looks like this, and it's a certain color, and it fits here. It fits within our marketing plan. This is where this artist goes, because it's less than being an artist. It's a product. You know what I mean? It's a product that's got to be sold. And
I think that was like yourself. I come from the background of the Zeppelins, and just wanting to play and just be a player, and it's naive to think that it's not like that. It's not like you're the product, and you've got to remember that it's always it's a business, it's an industry, it's a business. Things have got to sell, that, and that's the part I grew to really hate, is that you're trying to make a product for somebody to cash in on and make money, and that takes away a lot of the creativity. And it was a big eye opener for me, because you've got these dreams of what it's going to be like when we weren't nowhere near the top, but we were like on our way, climbing slowly, by our fingernails.
Yeah.
You've got this idea that what you want it to be like, but probably like our ideas are from the days of old, where, the big record label guys, and, like my dad was, like I said, my dad signed up to Virgin back in the late 70s, and you've just got these ideas of what it's like, but when you get there, you're like, actually, this is like, I could have been anyone right now. It doesn't matter that I'm me. I could have been anyone, as long as I just had manufactured a band or whatever. And
yeah.
So I think going from the pop scene to the rock scene, was a really good transition because it just got us away from that and got us into wanting to play music.
Yeah.
And then
it's almost like the reverse sellout. What you did, wasn't it? It's almost
Yeah.
like you didn't change your style from being heavy to being like to more poppy to get into that. It's almost like that tour made you learn your stagecraft and play in massive, huge places, and how to be professional, how to be on time, how to work within short time constraints, how to all that stuff that people don't really realise goes on, but it's got to be nailed,
Yeah.
And then from doing that, when that tour finishes, it's like, okay, well, our actual music fits a different tour, probably better than that one did, but you're never going to beat that exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exposure is the key word there. That's that lovely word that puts food on your tables. Exposure.
That's the one. Yeah, I'm going to go and buy 15 exposures worth of Tesco tomorrow.
So it was the reverse, but that ended. It was sad when it did end. I think it was just, especially because the other guys were so young when they were. It's like they sort of from 17 to 22 or whatever, or 17 to 20 even. That's like some key moments in your life, which you'll never forget. And I think you either grow and you want to progress in your music fields, and a lot of the guys have done that, or some guys, if that was your big first musical experience, I can totally imagine it would put you off for life as well, because it's you kind of get an insight of what it's like. You think, that's why you have to have that love of playing, because I'll play anywhere. I will play anywhere to anyone. That's why like lockdown has been so sucky, because all you want to do is play.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't talk about the, like depression is a huge thing in the world, but especially for musicians and when you you'll know as well, you get the Monday morning blues after a great weekend of gigs, because you're playing, you're getting addicted to the adrenaline that you create when you play. It's an addictive thing, a proper drug. And when you're back to being, regular Joe on the Monday, I'm here now. And that's when all the, you just get squashed.
Yeah.
But then knowing, that's why you're always pushing for gigs. That's why, especially yourself, you're like a hustler for getting the gigs in and working hard to. So that's what I really admire about you. You work hard to push and to gig all the time. You know that your next weekend you've got more gigs, so you've got that hope in your head. When you just take all of that away, you just sat there thinking, "Oh my God, I've got nothing." Sorry, mate.
It's all right.
I've got nothing. I've got nothing left.
No, but it's the difference, though, isn't it? It's seeing how people have dealt with not being able to go out and play. I mean, I know a lot of people that have literally not picked up their instrument since lockdown, and that's madness for me, because, well, me personally, it's like, okay, well, I can't gig, so I'll get back into my recording, I'll start a podcast talking about music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's trying to be creative of what I actually can do from home, if you get me. I never stopped playing. I actually played more, because in my gigging before, I was playing a very rigid set of tribute music, so it had to be the same every week, because everybody wants the greatest hits, so in between that, I probably wasn't playing much different stuff in the week, because I was doing other things, with being involved with the pub and things like that. But through lockdown, it's been, okay, let's, one, give all my guitars that haven't had a lot of attention over the years, because they're not the gigging ones, some attention, because I need them now. I'll be recording so I need a different sound. I need a different tool for a particular job. But more, it's really getting into it and just getting my head straight and being, okay, let's get back to a good level of being a bedroom producer again.
Yeah.
And push with that. But if I hadn't got the ability to do that, or I couldn't have just stopped. I couldn't have just gone, do you know what, we can't play, so I'll play again when next we can. But I know a lot of people that haven't either sang, haven't practiced a guitar, or drum kit, anything like that, because they've got so despondent with the situation that they've literally just, they don't see the value in it. With me, it's been a saviour,
Well, yeah, absolutely, and we are very lucky that we've got the ability to do it at home. I'm super lucky that I've got electric kit in my house, because if I was living in a flat and I couldn't have obviously electric kit set up, or definitely not a real acoustic kit, you couldn't play. You could just get a practice pad, but I know that I'm very lucky that I've got the ability to do that, and I've got the ability to record bits and bobs, and super lucky. But there was a time when the first lockdown hit. For the first month, I don't think I'd touched the stick, because I just sort of felt a bit like, what's going on? What's happening with the world? And and also you gig so much, like yourselves. We were flat out. With Call of The Kraken, we do a lot of functions and weddings and corporate dues, and anywhere we can gig, we'll be there. And you burn out. You do burn out eventually. Like you say, you play a lot of the same stuff all the time, even though you want to spice up now and then, but you want to play what the punters want to hear. Then
you're providing a service at those kind of gigs. You are actually providing a service,
Exactly. And then you're playing that regimented set kind of thing. So when you stop, it's almost like and I was teaching a lot as well. And when it all just stopped, I need a break. I actually need a break from it in order to appreciate the instrument again. So I had to think, I think I had about a month off it. And then I was wanting to play again. And I was like, all right, I need to get on it. And, and I really admire you doing all the recording stuff, because as I was saying to you, we had a little chat before this, it's you're recording, but you get other people involved. And that thing of, we're just saying about gigging, having the next gig on the weekend, and you need that in your head for almost like a reassurance, like, oh, I'm gigging that weekend, I've got that to look forward to, I can get on my week now, I don't mind so much. But with that being eradicated, you've almost given people that bit of hope, where you're like, you're doing vocals on this one, you're doing you do this on the weekend or whatever, and they've given people a date and they think, oh great, I've got something to practice for, something to do. So that's really good. I do admire that about you, because I think that's probably the part which you probably haven't realized is helping people, where you're just like, I want to make music, and then the extra part's like giving people that little bit of hope where they think, oh, I've got something to look forward to now. So that's really good, man. And
I got that feedback from meeting up with before. It's like, I met for a drink with Phil Greenhouse, drummer.
Great player.
Yeah, he met me before the pubs shut in November. So we had the table service and all that, and we met for a night. And literally, I didn't know how much that it had affected him, just having someone to sing backing vocals on every week.
Yeah,
the way we do it is I'll program the drummers, but I'll send them to Phil and say, look, this is what I've written. Can you check it for me to okay the drum track as if that was what you would have played, so it doesn't, I've just got like really outlandish stupid fills in it and things like that, and he'll literally okay that first. and then he'll tell me to, what he'd do on it, and we have a little bit of collaboration on that, but mainly he's a great singer, so he always does the backing vocals. And then we had a chat about it, and I didn't know how much it had affected him, but he literally said that, like, him having a one track a week to do backing vocals on or something, or be involved with, is what's kept him going through all this. And I didn't realise that it had affected people that I got involved in that much, but it really, really has, and I'm proper proud of it. I'm proper proud of it.
I don't doubt that, man. And the podcast as well. Like, it's nice to feel like a player with a bit of worth again, when just for me, just coming on, having a bit of chat about, past endeavors and future endeavors. It's like, it's not, you kind of reminisce and you go, I've had some good times actually playing music, and it gets you hopeful for the future. So it's a good thing.
And I think it's interesting as well for people that come and see you play, which are a band you're in, they're not going to know this. They're not going to know what you've done before, or, your background in playing and what different bands and where you've played and stuff. And because you don't get time to have these chats with them after gigs. It doesn't happen. It's normally just thanks very much and see you later. We're going sort of thing.
Exactly.
It does bring me on to actually your current band, which I absolutely love. I mean, I think I was one of the first people to book you. I remember when back in doing bookings for pubs.
Yeah.
But what a great act. For the first time I saw the Kraken play, when you were doing the full covers set, just blew me away. I mean, the mashups and stuff that you wouldn't even expect, with different songs going into each other, and you can see
shouldn't expect,
which probably shouldn't go into each other, but they work. And it's
thanks, man.
Even that from the image as well. I mean, with the dress code, where you're all dressed in the red shirts, so the first, it was like, okay, right. What I liked about it most, there was some serious thought that had gone into it. You weren't pissing about. It was kind of taking this, well, we're playing pubs because punters like it, but we want to, move up and get into maybe the corporate scene with you know, and then move up from there again and start writing their own music, which is, it's been great to watch. How did the Kraken start?
Kraken started with so I'd finished EV, that had come to the end of 2015. I then started a band called Distant Archives with Reese and Luke from EV. So
You booked them as well.
yeah, and you booked them as well. So so we did gig it where we did a few gigs with them, and just sort of, it was more of like a 3-piece alternative experimental thing. But at the end of 2016, I want to say, near the end of 2016, if you go back to when I was doing the open mic night where I got into BCDC, that was, you know, probably about 9 years ago. That's where I met Conrad and his dad, and took the details there. And just from that one chance meeting, you know, he'd just come back from London. Conrad is, you know, he'll get on the podcast himself, I'm sure, and he'll tell you all about, he's got some stories. You know, he's a big session player down in London, done some huge things down there. He'd just come back, again, he'll tell you why, but he'd just come back to Shropshire. And this is when he was starting the strongman phase of his life. But he was keeping in with the playing, and his dad was like, come, let's get out of the house and do some playing. So that one chance meeting, power of networking, exchange each other details, he sort of followed my musical career for the last few years in between. Him and Jed were doormen in Hereford, and they were like head security of like the Royal Welsh Show and all this kind of stuff. So they were like highly respected doormen. And if you've ever met them, you know, like, you just, people to not trifle with.
No, you wouldn't mess with them. No.
You just wouldn't mess with them. So I got a message, was like, oh, I'm just looking at putting together like a bit of a covers band if you're interested. And I really wasn't to start with. I really wasn't. I thought I guess there was a bit of ego in it. Like, I thought, I've done all this stuff. And I really had to swallow I was like, wouldn't you know what? I just want to play. I just don't care anymore. I just want to play, because I'd had a bit of time without like live gigging. I was like, this is crap. So I was like, yeah, why not? I trundled to the Sticks in Leominster, where they were on this little studio, and because Conrad had known Conrad and Jed were tight, they knew, Jed and Bruce knew each other from playing rugby in the past, and I just sort of trundled in and just played a few. They gave me 10 songs to learn, had a jam with them, and that is literally how it started. We just had a jam. We were like, this sounds pretty good. Kept jamming. We booked our first gig as like a little support slot in Clearby Mortimer, and then the rest was just history with that. We just gigged. With me and Conrad both coming from a heavy musical background, and Conrad's dad's a player, so
Yeah.
same as my dad.
Paul's a legend as well, yeah.
Paul is an absolute legend. Yeah, an absolute legend. We wanted to take it as serious as we would if we were, you know, doing an arena tour. We want to take it that serious. We want to become like a really sought after band. So we just thought of everything. Every like the amount of chat that goes on in our WhatsApp group, it's going off now, I'm just moving my phone away so I can't see it, is ridiculous. And we chat about every individual little part of things, like you said, the red check shirts and the white shoes, and people would sort of look at us when we come and laugh at us, but we're like, just you know,
you wait, yeah.
And then all the little details, mainly from all the little intricate like parts in between songs and medleys and stuff. Conrad's so good at like being a musical director with things like that, and he's really good at trying to get from this to this and make it sound fun and interesting. So we just battled on and just had a really good couple of years. Got signed up to an agency to do sort of, I think because we thought actually we could make like a living doing this. This could become like our job. Got signed to an agency, did loads of weddings, loads of corporate dues. You know, we played some huge places doing the corporate dues, and some wild experiences. You know, we've played like SAS camps and all sorts of mad things. Like, you know, probably met as many celebrities doing the Kraken stuff as I have doing the EV stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I'd like Jim Davidson like doing like an auction thing at a gig, and yes, some wild times, some proper wild times. And then we got to the point where like, let's just go for, we'll do one of our rehearsals with like a weekly rehearsal. Let's just do one, but let's just write some stuff. I think Conrad was like, I got this riff idea. And then we just got so involved with, it just clicked so easily to write stuff. And with Jed's voice especially, creates such a unique sound that we just got so excited about it. We're like, we could do this. We could write some tunes. And we just started writing, and then we booked ourselves a gig. We always do this. We book ourselves a gig with like a few weeks, and we're like, guys, we've still got to write like a bunch of songs for this, and that we work really well to a deadline. So we all pull our fingers out when there's a deadline there, and we just got to write. So we did that, and we did a couple of Academy gigs. One's up on our got like a teaser thing. We've got just such a great bunch of friends who like the band, and we like taking them places, and they come along to the O2 gigs and just make it wild. And I'm always super grateful if someone's come to a gig and they've spent their hard-earned money and given up their time to come watch me. It's one of the most humbling feelings you can ever have as a musician. That's like a super nice thing. So we just brought out our first single at the start of in April last lockdown, which we were kind of thinking, because we'd done all the gigs for the original stuff leading up to it, we had that question, do we release our debut single, which we, had artwork for, made a full campaign for, to release it in a lockdown? And we just thought, yeah, because everyone's at home, everyone's on their phones, and it kind of, I'm so glad we did, because it gave us such, something to work for all lockdown. We can write music, so we've been writing loads of music and record. Every time a lockdown opens, we'll get it back in the studio, back to David Radar Jones, Johnny Rocker in Manchester, Red City Recording.
Great studio.
Such a great bloke. Like, I worked with him with the EV guys. He co-wrote the whole EV album, but he's just such a great bloke, and he understands what we want and understands we want to record it and create an energy that we would give live. So we go there all the time to record, and it's a great place. It always creates a good thing. But so we've had the two singles out, Head Keeps Spinning, which come out in April. And then down the line, we had Seeing Double that come out with Conrad's crazy double neck guitar.
Yeah, which is a story to itself, man. When that started getting in the guitar press, and I was like, Guitar World are sharing it, Total Guitar is sharing it, guitarists are sharing it, and it's like great,
crazy.
Yeah.
That is like priceless promo.
It's brilliant, and the fact that came out with the first single as well, and they're actually embedding your video into their news stories about the guitar. Brilliant.
And that's what I think. One of the things that annoyed me with that is it was amazing that they put the video into the website, which had like 1 million, 2 million reach. But YouTube thought it was like fake views when they were clicking on it, so they took like half of the views off.
Oh, man.
So we'd hit like 20,000 views when that article come out in probably, I don't know, a day, less than a day, and then YouTube were like, it's fake views, and took half of them off, which they do with a lot of bands when we start researching it, which is pretty crappy. But what great press, what amazing press.
It was just like the stars aligning, wasn't it? It was great.
Yeah. And Conrad and his dad built it, and like when he comes on, he'll tell you the full story of that. But
we chatted about it before when he was putting it together. We actually took backwards and forwards on the specs and things like that. So to see it all come out and then the guitar press get hold of it just at the right time when you've got a video out.
Amazing.
Superb.
We did that first video with Lewis Cater, who did some old EV videos, and he's just a super pro guy, super pro. And obviously we haven't got a backing of a label or we don't have anyone else involved with our project. We have like PR companies that we use and pluggers which get stuff onto the radio. But in terms of like investment in support from big labels, there's just you haven't got that, and we're doing it all off our own backs. So we got a video with Lewis Cater that was Head Keeps Spinning, recorded in an absolutely freezing warehouse in Manchester. Got a really cool vibe to it. So super happy that come out, and then that sort of leads on to seeing Double coming out, and then so this Friday, I'm not sure when this is coming out, but this week, I'm not sure what the date is. It is going to be on this Friday. Hope for Attention's coming out.
So we got a new single. Wow.
26th, yeah. So new single comes out this Friday, 26th, I believe.
Well, I think this is coming out. This is coming out Friday too, so I can include. Well, I'll include links to all the videos in the description of this podcast as well. So I was thinking of putting it out on the interview out on Friday on the same day as your single comes out. You know.
Hey. Well, this single comes out today, so it's the link below. Click that. So
which to anyone that pays attention, obviously this isn't live.
What? Yeah. So Hope for Attention is one of the first songs we wrote as a band. One of I think it's my personal favorite of the Kraken ones we've done, because I went for a bit of a different approach with the drums and gave it more of a sort of South American vibe, but rocking. So just a bit different for me personally. Oh, he's disappeared. Do apologise.
It's all right. Man in demand.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm really, really happy with how it's come out. So that's coming out today. So please go check it out, and it's on every platform you can imagine. Very excited about this one. Very excited.
Well, the links for it will be in the description of this video as well. So anyone that's watching this, they can scroll down and they'll see the links to the Spotify version and also to the videos coming out on YouTube the same day. Is it? Yeah.
Yes. And no.
Just single release. Yeah. Okay. I'll put all the links in it so people can check it out. So that's so great. That's so great, man. Even though we're locked down, you're still pushing ahead and still releasing the music, because you're right. I admire that, because you can't physically get behind it and do gigs to promote what you're releasing, but you're totally taking the good parts out of realizing that people are just clamoring for things to watch and listen to. They want new content. They want something to what they want new music, and it's cool. So
it's probably the thing which has kept, I'm furloughed, and the first lockdown I lost gigging, I lost teaching, I lost my first job went. Lucky enough, I got another job back in Bishop's Castle at the hotel. Yeah. So lucky that I worked there in the past, and they're really lovely people and let me have another job, which is, kept me from losing everything. So super happy with that. So I'm furloughed at the minute, and it's one of those things where if I didn't have that to work towards, I don't know what I would be doing. It just drives you mad. So I'm really, really grateful that I've got the band and the music to push for.
Yeah.
It's kept me semi-sane.
I think it's great, and I have lots of chats with people that used to just watching the band play at the pubs and stuff. Yeah. And ask the questions, and I'll be like, well, you don't see them doing many pubs anymore before lockdown. I'm like, follow them on the social media channels, and you'll realise that the Kraken are doing a lot of bigger gigs, and a lot of gigs which are corporate gigs which don't get spoken about. So you can easily look at it and go, well, they haven't done a gig for a couple of weeks. I'm like, they're really, really busy. They're doing big private corporate gigs which aren't going to be on their gig list, and it's trying to explain that sometimes to people that don't really understand what you're talking about. It's like
it's another world, the corporate world, and
hugely,
Yeah, we've done some big
it's all contract stuff, isn't it? You get it.
Yeah. And it's they're just different. They're strict and different, and I think it's really good to play those kind of things just to have that experience, because we do want some of them at the Rico Arena, and we're in the corporate suite area, and they'll put us up in one of the hotel rooms just for the day, so we've got somewhere to chill out, because you have to get to these things so early, and people don't realize, and we don't post a lot about it on the social medias because some of the corporate places don't want you to, so you're just there as the party band, and sometimes you've got to get there at like 1 p.m. and you know, that's, if you're doing it on a Thursday, you got to take that whole day off work, and you get there at 1 p.m. and then you set up your gear early, because then they've got comedians on, they've got award ceremonies and stuff, and then you get sort of shoved in the hotel room, and it's lovely when you get a hotel room because you can just chill. And when we're in there, we never sort of sit. We're always trying to plan the next thing, and that's what I love about Kraken. They're as proactive as I am with music, and you know, we're writing lyrics, and everyone's writing lyrics and contributing. So it's another world, you know, it's a total other world. You get there at 1 p.m, you leave at like 3 a.m. You've got to just wait for other people to do their things, and they're long days. And you know, as much as I prefer playing in a sweaty pub, because I love it, because you can sort of play what you want. With the corporate stuff, you've got to play a relevant, safer set list.
Like you're saying, you were employed to provide a service, and the service is what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And you do it, and you have a good time. And but you know, I'd much rather play a sweaty pub. Just the mad thing, you know, then you think they've got a budget for a band, and the reality of it is you get paid a lot more at a corporate do or a wedding than you would in a local pub, because you couldn't go and charge, you know.
Well, the places wouldn't make any money, because I mean, I know how much you've got to sell over the bar to cover the band, you know. So
exactly. So but we use that experience and that time and that money, and we put all of that back into doing the original stuff. So you know, that's
what I was going to get onto, the fact that, you know, ever since you started doing it, that you've been clever enough as a band to reinvest in your craft.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think about a lot of bands like Enter Shikari, for example. Everything they make goes back into production and everything like that. So apologies. I hate when I watch podcasts and someone's phone's going off. I just haven't. I was like, those rude bastards. But so we try and invest everything back into it, because we want to, you know, we're no spring chickens anymore. We're all in our 30s, and we want to, if we're going to try and do it, we want to try and do it properly, and we want to try and do it our way, and we want to have fun with it, and just try, man. Just try and make something we're all proud of. Yeah. I think is the main thing. Be creative as possible.
I think I really admire the way that you conduct yourselves and the way that you do business. It's great.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And also we've also got a couple of t-shirts on sale. We've got the two bottom ones here.
Wow, look at that merch placement.
Wow. I didn't even plan that. Surely not.
No. There's one right there.
So we've got my Head Keeps Spinning t-shirt with the black and white, and the C and double in the pink and black. Those are on sale now. If you give us a direct message on any of our social medias.
Is that what people have got to do? Just basically just direct message you? Is there a website they can order them, or come to you direct?
Just direct. So Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Just go on our thing. Just give us a direct message, and we'll sort some out.
And of course, because we're super pro, all those links will be in the description below.
Excellent. And just come chat to us.
Yeah, but everyone should definitely get along there and check it out. And like I said, this is going to come out the same day as the new single as well, so this is perfect.
Hold for attention. Go listen to it. Tell us what you think. Tell us if you hate it. Tell us if you like it, and all comments and feedback is appreciated.
Brilliant. Well, before we close up, I'll have to ask the question as well, because obviously we do get, it is the Beer and Gear podcast, and again, we mentioned drinking a bit, but as we're recording this in the morning, we're not going to sit here with like 10 cans. But I will get onto a bit of the gear, because people do tend to like the ins and outs of what people are using. You're a Tama guy at the moment, aren't you? You just
man.
Go through the specs of your kit. I might know a few things about Tama kits.
Really? So I'm using the Tama Star Classic Birch Bubinga, which I don't think they make anymore. I think they've gone to a walnut.
They've changed to walnut, and they've brought out a maple only version, I think, now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to get my hands. This was back in the E days. I can't remember how I acquired this kit. It magically came to me. I acquired this lovely Tama gold or champagne sparkle, or you could say it's a platinum sparkle, but it's I just say it's gold sparkle. And it's a 24 kick, so it's a 24 by 18 kick, and it is a cannon. So before I was using this kit, I was using the first kit I ever got, which was a Premier projector kit.
I remember the Premier. It was a great sounding kit.
Yeah, it was all birch, and me and my dad went to get it when I was taking drums seriously when I was about 15. Me and my dad went to get it, and he got, because we are from the Waters family, we are jammy people. We are like, anyone who knows me knows how jammy I am at things. We got this Premier projector kit from this old alcoholic guy. He was selling all his gear, and he was like, "Oh, it was really crazy." I remember going to this when I was 15, in this like townhouse up in the northeast, and we walking up to see the kit, and this door starts shaking. I was like, "What's in there?" And the guy goes, "Don't worry, that's just my mum." And the door was locked from the outside, and she was like scratching the door. I was like, "Oh my god!" And then he continued to say that he'd stop drinking as you walk past towers of like empty cans, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's why you sound the kit.
It's like I don't drink anymore. I don't drink it less, just not anymore. Yeah.
Justified.
Yeah.
And then he showed us the kit, this red Premier projector kit, which I think was the same time that it was Yamaha owned Premier back then.
Yeah.
And that's when they brought this out. And it was, so he gave me this 22-inch kick with 10, 12, 14, 16. And then he goes, "Oh, actually, I've got some more stuff you can just chuck in the van as well if you want. I just want rid of it now." He had an extra bass drum, matching bass drum. He had a 13 and an 18 tom. So on the actual kit that I have, which is actually in storage up in my dad's place up in Northeast, it's a 2 22s, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18 kit. And then he just goes, "Oh, I've got these cymbals as well if you want." And he just gives us a box of cymbals. And that's the Zildjian Z Mega Bell ride that I use. I've used that for years and years. Just give me that. So that was the kit I had then. And I used that. I think you always have to, I think it's good to have not the top end gear when you're learning. And I used that right up until I was in EV, and I used I got the Tama kit, amazing kit. So it's 24 by 18 kick drum. It's just you hit it and you feel it.
That's what I like about those kits though. The Birch Bubinga stuff. I mean, I love the sound of those because to me it was always that you had the attack of the birch, but the Bubinga give it that awesome low end as well. It's like the greatest mix of low end and attack in one shell. Well, in one shell with the mixture of the two drums, mixture of the two woods.
Absolutely.
They've always sounded great live. I mean, they're just great kits.
Great kits, great recording kits. I use that for recording all the time. It's amazing because I love maple kits, but they sort of sing a bit too much sometimes. With great for live, but this is awesome kit for live and recording just because of that, like you said, that punch of the birch is just awesome. And then I kind of swap between using the 10 or a 12 as a rack, and then I always use the 14 and the 16 for floors. But just mix it up with the 10 and 12. At the minute, I'm using the 12 because the Kraken original stuff uses more of the 12. But I do like the toppy 10. But so I use that's my shells, and then I use snare drum. I've used, it's my second snare drum I've ever had as well. Actually,
Is that the Steve Ferrone one?
It's the Steve Ferrone one. So it's the Pearl Steve Ferrone.
Yeah.
It's like a modern day Black Beauty. So he's obviously loved Black Beauties because he went to Gretsch now, Steve Ferrone, and he's made pretty much exactly the same snare drum, Gretsch, but it's a black nickel over brass with the gold hoops, and it's just incredible. It just had the Black Beauties are great, but a lot of their fittings nowadays are so dated, and they're just not. They don't stand up to a modern day thrashing. So he's got all the new modern throw-offs and everything. Lovely, lovely snare drum, and I use that on probably everything I've recorded. And I also have and acquired a Bubinga Starphonic snare drum as well, which I use as a backup.
Yeah,
I use my backup snare. But that's like, it can crack, but it's got that low end. You can detune it and have, your 80s thud if you wanted it as an auxiliary. So
or cover it in water for the videos and get the 80s thud with the water that flies up in the air.
Yeah, well, with that Tama kit, I used it as a video on YouTube, EV Wake Up. We did it in a house down in Peckham, I think it was.
Oh, that was the one, the smashed up, all the smashed up walls and everything and that kind of stuff. Dust everywhere. So it's an abandoned house they use for music videos and things like that. And we're there, and I set my kit up in the room, and I went away to do some bits and bobs, and I come back, and one of the props ladies had covered it in a can of, like a 20p can of fake cobwebs. And she put it on all the shells and all the cymbals. And I was like, that stuff is like so toxic. Yeah. And I've still got it, like, it's still on my drums now. And I shot that video 6 years ago. And I was like, I didn't go ballistic. I was like, can you help me take this off, please? It's like, it's like an acid, and it just eats you. It will eat through the finish of anything, yeah. So
I had to scrape it off, but I still got it on there. But I quite like that, like, especially like, on guitar, I like seeing all the bangs and things and stuff like that, because you got the memories from where you've had it. So that's a fun memory. That's a fun memory. Yeah, old silly street lady.
I used to hit your cymbals with the headstock of my guitar, didn't I? And that was like the most expensive guitar I've got. And I'm just thinking, Nicky, clunk.
And you still have the chips in it, yeah?
The did has got a few in it, yeah. But it's all part of it, man. It's like, there's nothing wrong with a bit of belt rash on the back of a guitar.
Exactly. I like that. It just adds character to it. And but cymbals wise, I'm always changing with cymbals. I've always had a pair of Zildjian Newbeat hi-hats that my dad traded in for some bits and bobs when I was younger. Again, I'm one of them people who's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it, So I've had the Zildjian Newbeats, which I've just had forever. I've also got a pair of 15 Master Sounds hats, which I don't really use. I've used it on a few recordings, and then I've kind of gone into the pasty world. I've got a Zildjian A Custom Sweet Ride, which is amazing, lovely. You can crash it. You can ping it. It's got the lovely bell on it. But I've gone to the pasty world where it's I was going through 18 crashes too easily, and you spend 300 quid on
it's expensive,
on an A Custom or or God forbid a K. I loaned a K. I think I loaned a K for the McBusted tour. I think it lasted 5 gigs because I hit hard.
You do, yeah.
And they were just like, "Oh, well, you take this as well." And I was like, "Oh, cool, a K, wow!" It's like 400 quid worth of cymbal, wallet.
Yeah.
So I went to the PST 8s, which are like not the high end pasties, but they're just below it. And for an intermediate sounding cymbal, they sound incredible, super bright, great attack. They don't wash out over everything. Really lovely cymbals, and for probably half the price of a brand new A Custom. So I use them quite religiously at the minute. So
yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of value in going mid range sometimes, because the standard of mid range in gear is so much better than that used to be.
Yeah.
Across the board, musical instruments, whether it be kits, whether it be guitars or anything, there's the spec of something you can get for the price that used to be. Well, in terms of a guitar, let's say, because it's my kind of area, but you know, the spec of something that used to cost over £1,000 is like £500 now. That mid-range is just getting better. It's almost the new Pro. Yeah. Because the top-end stuff, and in drums as well, has gone so expensive in the last 10 years, but the bit underneath it has just got better in terms of spec and durability. You know, it's great.
And you think how much better can the Pro stuff get? I mean, they're always innovating and whatnot, but you know, for drums, it's like the top-end kits are getting silly money, and it sounds lovely, but if it depends on what you're using it for. If you're like a, you know, obviously if you're a top pro, you get everything for free anyways. But if you're just like a like say a weekend warrior and you're going out playing the clubs or whatever, with everything mic'd up, you won't be able to tell with all that, you know, if you're going out with sort of in a normal room that you'd find, which is not great acoustics and everything, you wouldn't be able to tell an intermediate like £1,000 kit to top end £5,000 kit. There's no way you'd be able to tell.
I don't think there is. I just think that apart from the fact that we can't gig at the moment, I think in terms of what's available to a player, I don't think there's been any better time ever to be a musician. Just by purely the amount of options everyone's got for every budget, and it's generally brilliant. You know, quality for what you're getting. You know,
and that translates to you know your music software and the ease. You know, how easy it is to record things nowadays. It's crazy. Like if I had this when I was 15, laughing.
You don't need to spend all the money that you used to. I mean, there's that much good freeware about as well. You could get up and running straight away with literally anything, and you'd be able to do it. You know, there has been no better time to be, like you say, to be an active musician, and I really hope that people realise that, and I hope that, you know, people get inspired to keep picking up a set of drums. People pick up guitars, and the next generation needs to come through. You know what I mean? And I hope there's enough of the music industry out there to still inspire them, or they go back to the source and they pick up on the old stuff and find their own way. You know, like people do.
And I think, like, you know, touching on that, you get people like, I'm not that much into like people like Machine Gun Kelly, but he still goes out with a band, like when he's even just for like his Saturday Night Live things, whatever. Yeah. Like I say, I'm not really that into him. I don't think he's that great, but he's still, even for those kind of things, he's still out there with a band, and his band have got identity. And I think that's really good. It's when people are going out there with nothing but backing tracks. I think that's quite sad, because that is the music industry, I guess.
There's a lot of it, man. I mean, I've done the things where I've been down to London with amps for a guitarist that I've got playing with a very famous female artist that was supposed to be going out live on the X Factor on a Saturday night. So you go down there and you make the trip in your own time. You don't get paid extra to do. You get to Wembley Arena, you get it all there, and it's going to be fantastic. It goes out live on the TV, and you're ready to, and it's just her with a backing track and some dancers.
Yeah, you just take it like an empty cab, really, aren't you?
There was no point, because the players went on the stage anyway. They didn't even have them on their miming. It was just her and some dancers, so it was completely pointless.
One of my favourite memories of me and you, apart from all the gigging ones, before we go, is you took us to the Cult when you were liaising with
Johnny.
John Tempesta, who I've been a huge fan of.
Oh, he's a lovely guy, and he should really come on this podcast. That'd be great. Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Big up John Tempesta. But I was a big fan of his, and you know, you were liaising with him, sorting him out some gear, some drum gear.
Well, he was a big timer in Dorsey. Obviously, signature snare, and it's a real good ambassador for the brand. So whenever they're within the UK. I was his port of call. You know, I did two drum clinic tours with John as well before. Yeah, and it was nice. It was nice because we were in the band together at the time, and it's like the kind of things that I do for a job would be probably quite hard to understand for some people that might just think that it was just complete bollocks, like, because it did sound like, what did you do today? This, that, and the other. Yeah, whatever. And it was nice to go on a band excursion night and be like, let's go. Yeah, we play a couple of Cult songs in the set. Should we go and watch them?
Yeah, backstage.
How about we meet them as well? Funny, great times.
I think one of the greatest parts of it was like we met him, and I said hello. We watched the show, great show. And then we thought, oh, because we're at the Civic in Wolverhampton, weren't we? And we thought, we'll go next door for a beer. And we went across there with John Tempesta.
And Rob Holiday, wasn't it?
And Rob Holiday ran up behind, I didn't know who he was at the time when he ran up behind you and like jumped on your back and was like, Chris. And then he like ran off with John into the pub. And I was like, who's that? And he's like, oh, it's Rob Holiday, guitar player from Prodigy. I was like, wow, this is another world. And then we went I remember going into the pub, and as we were going in, there was the Cult playing on the radio, and on the screen was a live gig of Gary Newman, which Rob Holiday was playing bass on, wasn't he? That tour.
Yeah, that tour. Yeah.
And then they just took over the pub. I remember them behind the bar. That was a cool memory. I like that.
It was cool. It was nice seeing just the reaction of people in the band as well, like going, I don't quite know what to do here. It's like, you know,
good man. It's really
but
good.
that was like 3 times a week for me, that kind of thing, depending on who was coming through. You know what I mean? It was just a good night, man. We got some good photos from that night and everything, didn't we? It was really good. You know,
what a night. Yeah, what a life that was for you.
Yeah, it's you know, I wouldn't give those memories up for the world. You know what I mean? There's all those, you know, for all the frustrations of having to be on motorways at stupid o'clock sometimes because something had gone wrong and you've got to get gear out or meet in a tour bus somewhere and, you know, in between venues to switch out gear or whatever. And like I said, the disappointments of thinking you're going to have your product on TV and it not being there. So it was a complete waste of time because some producer's gone, damn, we don't need drum kit and amps on that. We'll just get the dancers in and then they can sing to a track and that's great, you know.
Yeah.
But the nights like that when you can, I enjoyed showing my friends and introducing my friends into those situations, you know. So I think
it's fun, man. It's good.
So
good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
Right, man. I think we've covered quite a lot today. Actually, it's been great to catch up as well. Like I say, every link to all the Call of the Kraken stuff will be in the description below. This will come out the same day as the new single as well, which would be great. Man, it's been great catching up. Really, really has. It's been cool.
Always lovely to see you, man. And thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's nice just to talk to another human sometimes.
It is, isn't it? Well, I'm always about it if you want a natter, mate. You know that. And hopefully we'll all be able to meet on the road somewhere, playing some kind of gig or going to a gig, you know.
Well, when this all opens up, we need to get together and get on the beers, definitely.
I think we definitely should. Definitely should do that when we're allowed to again. We all need to meet up in the middle of a field somewhere with loads of beer and some live music. That's what I need.
That just sounds amazing, doesn't it?
It does. But we'll get there, kid. We'll get there.
Yeah. The Hall for Attention out today.
Perfect, mate. It's been brilliant.
Thank you, man.
I'll catch you soon. All links will be in the description below. And thanks so much for liking and subscribing. It really, really helps me out with YouTube and trying to get this podcast running. Don't forget to buy the merch. There'll be a link for as well. That's right there. And over and out for this week. And I'll catch up with another guest next week. Thanks very much. See you later, Nicky.
See you, dude. Take care.
You've been listening to the Beer and